Hello and welcome back to another video where I read you a bedtime story of Hello Kitty the Animal Adventure, and we are on chapter 2. So I'm going to read it this way and then I'll show you the pictures. Chapter 2, A Fun Evening. Hello Kitty, dear Daniel, Fifi and Tammy had a wonderful swim in the pool. They pulled each other around on a big floating bed and took it in turns to dive under the water to pick up diving sticks. When they had swum enough, they got dressed, and dear Daniel's aunt showed them how to feed the animals. There was a lot to remember. The hens had grains, the goats and the sheep had some dried green pellets. Minnie and the pony and Jenny the donkey had hay, and Rufus had dog food in a bowl. After they fed the animals, Hello Kitty asked if there was anything else they could do to help that afternoon. There wasn't much time before tea, but they could clean Minnie's leather bridle and harness. Dear Daniel's aunt smiled and settled them down with cleaning things and some big buckets of warm water and told them what to do. Then she went off to put up some curtains in one of the cottages and to start the barbecue going for their dinner. Cleaning Minnie's things was fun. First they had to spray a cleaner onto the saddle and wipe that off with sponges dipped in warm water. Then they had to rub the saddle into the leather, rubbing it until it gleamed. Dear Daniel was in charge of polishing the metal buckles and rings so that they shined brightly. As they worked, they all talked about the farm. They had already chosen their favourite animals. Dear Daniel liked Jenny the donkey. Tammy liked the lambs. Fifi liked Rufus the dog, and Hello Kitty liked Minnie the pony. As they finished the cleaning, Fifi washed her sponge out in the bucket of water and tried to throw it onto the shelf where the cleaning things were kept. But, oops, it missed and landed on Tammy's head. Tammy squealed as the water dripped all over her. Fifi clapped a hand over her mouth and said sorry straight away, but then a loud giggle escaped from her mouth. Tammy did quite look funny. Tammy's eyes glinted. She picked up the sponge and threw it back at Fifi. It splashed into Fifi's legs, leaving a big wet mark. Fifi dunked it in the water and threw it back, but Tammy dunked and it hit Hello Kitty instead. Soon all four of them were having an enormous water fight. They ran out of the room, dodging and ducking and throwing dripping sponges at each other. They ended up almost as wet as they had been when they had come out of the swimming pool. When the water in the bucket finally ran out, they were all pink in the face, but with big smiles. They cleared the mess away and checked all the animals had fresh water. But by the time they had finished, they were dry again and it was time to eat. They washed their hands and ran to the back garden of the farmhouse where the sausages and the beef burgers were sizzling on the barbecue. With dear Daniel's aunt and dad looking after them, they sat down around the garden table, munching on their food and drinking lemonade. The sun was starting to go down, but it was still warm and light outside. A perfect summer evening. As they ate, dear Daniel looked at the list of things they need to do while they were at the farm. They still had to clean out the sheep and the goat shelter, polish and paint Minnie's cart, bath and groove Minnie and Jenny, walk and bath Rufus. Would they be able to do all of that? The Friendship Club all looked at each other. They sure they could. After the barbecue was cleared away, there was still a little time before bedtime, and dear Daniel had an idea for a game. They could play near the cottages was an obstacle course set out for the guests' children to play on. It had a hoop to go through, jumps to climb over and crawl under, a tunnel to wiggle through. Hello Kitty, Fifi and Tammy jumped up and down with excitement. They all liked doing obstacle courses. Dear Daniel smiled and explained that this was going to be even more fun than a normal obstacle course. They were going to get into partners, then one person would be blindfolded and the other would guide them around the course. They all agreed that the game sounded loads of fun and super. Hello Kitty paired up with dear Daniel, and Fifi and Tammy went together. It felt very strange to have the blindfold on. When dear Daniel was guiding Hello Kitty, she took tiny steps and went slowly so she wouldn't fall over. When it was dear Daniel's turn to be blindfolded, he tried to go too fast and kept bumping into things. They soon realized that to get around quickly, the person doing the guiding had to give very clear directions. And the person who was blindfolded had to listen hard and do exactly what they were told. They each had 2 goes at it, and they were all much better the second time round. They worked together like a team. After they had played for a while, Fifi yawned, Tammy yawned, and then dear Daniel and Hello Kitty joined in. It was time to go and brush their teeth and get into their pajamas so that tomorrow they could be up early. There was going to be lots to do. The Friendship Club grinned at each other. They couldn't wait.